Oh, we have no branding. Come back, branding. Where are you? Okay, there's
That's one of
that.
them.
Hold on. I'll bring all the things back. All right. Welcome to the WAN Show, the weekly show where you listen to us talk for anywhere from, I think the shortest show we've ever done is about an hour and a quarter. And the longest ones we've done are like reaching up around three
Really
hours.
long.
Yeah, we've done some
I
really
have to
long
go at
shows.
6.
You have to go at 6?
Yeah.
What do you think this is? Some kind of company where like work ends at 6?
I think this is the first time that I've even said that in like a really long time. Why are you still wearing that?
Yeah, I'm wearing my lav mic because because I'm wearing my lav mic. I'm gonna take my lav mic off. You know what? I wonder if that would just be the solution. I should yell at Brandon to bring
lav
me the
mics?
other thing, and if we just each wore lavs, I wonder if that would just be better. Anyway, guys, we've got a great show for you today, as always. This week, the big topics are the GameWorks controversy. NVIDIA and AMD are at it again. And
Surprising.
super butthurt at each other again.
Surprising.
We're really surprised.
Oh yeah.
Here, you're a little far over that way,
Whoop.
Scoochin. We never can quite get the whole where we should put like X's on the chair so that we know like where it aligns with kind of the butthole, so that you can be in exactly the right spot every week.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yep.
I mean, if we didn't want to go for the whole butthole thing, then we could just put like butt marks around the outside of where the cheeks go. But then if one of us put on some weight, then we wouldn't be able to see them anyway.
Yeah.
Not that that's happened to either of us lately.
We switched.
I wouldn't.
We switched,
I
didn't
know,
we?
I
Oh my
know.
goodness, we did too.
Yeah.
You'll get it back.
I don't really
Actually,
want to
no,
talk
you
about
won't.
it. All right, so there's the NVIDIA AMD thing. There's an SSD middleware that could be coming that could, they're claiming, quadruple your SSD's performance, and this is without actually buying a new SSD, although I'd be surprised to see something like that implemented for free. What else we got?
Whoa, I gotta jump back up there. Google is gonna start building their own self-driving cars. They've had this kind of stuff going on for a while, but they're actually gonna start manufacturing these cars, which is really interesting. And TrueCrypt may or may not be compromised. We'll talk about that more later.
May not?
Yeah, there's new stuff that I found recently.
Oh, even more new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
This is an ever-changing topic.
So our sponsors of the show today are Asus with the excellent G750JZ gaming notebook and, of course, Modus, who are running their Geekstakes 2014 Facebook sweepstakes, where you and anyone you know who's interested in getting a job in the IT industry can go and head over to facebook.com/Modus to get more details on how you can win a bunch of really cool stuff. It's been running all week, and actually we've been getting a lot of pretty darn positive feedback about it, so stay tuned for us to explain more about that later after we actually do a show here. So, first order of business. You know what? Why don't we just straight up jump into the NVIDIA AMD thing? I
Sure.
think that's a pretty nice topic to give to the people who were sitting there waiting for us to start the show. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being on time, even though we rarely are.
Were we on time today?
Ish.
Like 1 minute late?
Yeah, I think we're like 1 minute late. And we pre-streamed a little bit before. But like, my laptop still isn't plugged in, so if screen sharing doesn't work the way that it normally should,
We
then
need that checklist.
we're gonna be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah!
All right, okay.
Victory.
So this was posted originally by Booker DeWitt on the forum, and it is an article from Forbes about why Watch Dogs is bad news for AMD users and potentially the entire PC gaming ecosystem. So this isn't exactly a new thing for AMD to wave the flag about, and what they're basically saying is that GameWorks represents a clear and present threat to gamers by deliberately crippling performance performance on AMD products. Now, what GameWorks effectively is it's a toolkit that game developers can use to implement features or basically features or graphical really features.
It's features.
It's features. Implement features into their games without actually coding the whole thing themselves. So when I was at NVIDIA's Montreal event, they were showing off some of the big improvements that they had made recently to GameWorks with things like particles and fire, where to put it sort of in really, really simple terms, it's kind of like on a camera having a profile that makes the image look better or adds an effect to your image, where the game developer doesn't actually have to dial in all of the manual settings and figure out how to do it themselves. So it's basically like, think of it like dragging and dropping fire effects into your game so that it looks like this great realistic fire when all you had to do yourself was like put it there, and then it animates itself. So that's what GameWorks is. But what AMD doesn't like about it is that developers license these proprietary NVIDIA technologies in order to make their games look great, but that doesn't give AMD any kind of real insight or necessarily a way to optimize their driver to perform well when rendering that feature in that game. So things like smoke and lighting and textures and shadows and all that kind of stuff can hurt performance on AMD cards, says Robert Halleck. So participation often... Okay, this is from the original article. So participation in the GameWorks program often precludes the developer from accepting AMD suggestions that would improve performance directly in the game code, the most desirable form of optimization. So basically, he's also saying that this makes it more difficult for them to perform their own after-the-fact driver optimizations, and it's basically, AMD doesn't support or condone such activities, and it's like super poopy and terrible. Now, a couple days went by, and NVIDIA fired back.
I'm surprised how long it took, actually.
I'm a little surprised at how long it took, but I can understand why they would have wanted to be very careful about their response. They don't want to say anything that's not correct. So NVIDIA came back and said, look, we have a kickoff meeting with the developers. We'll brainstorm cool new effects. We'll show them the catalogs that we have, and then we'll prototype something outside of their engine, give them an idea what the effect might look like, and we work with the developers, but we don't and never have restricted anyone from getting access as part of our agreements. Not with Watch Dogs and not with other titles. Our agreements focus on interesting things we're going to do together to improve the experience for all PC gamers and, of course, for NVIDIA customers. We don't have anything in there restricting anyone from accessing source code or binaries, and developers are free to give builds out to whoever they want. It's their product. So pretty much where we're at right now is he says, she says, which is the usual thing with AMD and NVIDIA. I don't think we're likely to get any kind of an official response from any game developer, because the last thing they're going to want to do is jeopardize their relationship. Remember, game developers need both AMD and NVIDIA on board ultimately. Even the way it's meant to be played title, the dev wants it to run on AMD cards. They're not going to ignore 40% of the market or 30 however odd percent of the market by just making it run like poo on AMD cards if they don't have to.
There's some speculation about the whole source code thing, because they could be like, yeah, you can release the source code, but our parts are obfuscated, so you can't actually read that part of the source code. So you can get to some of it, but then whenever one of the GameWorks effects is going to go off, you're really not going to know what's happening there. So it comes down to wording and what's actually being said.
So let's talk a little bit about what you'd rather see. I mean, AMD did their whole mantle thing, which I don't think they've actually opened it up to NVIDIA yet, even though they said that they would at some point, where basically the game would have to be coded completely differently to run on DirectX versus on Mantle. Whereas what NVIDIA is doing is they're approaching developers and going, okay, here's a feature, it'll run on whatever, but the performance is obviously built for our hardware. We're optimizing for NVIDIA. And the positive and negative things here are both pretty clear to me. So positive number one is that we're getting much better visual effects than we otherwise would have been able to, or much less work required for very small devs to create visually stunning games. Games that will run on AMD but won't necessarily perform the best. And then the disadvantage is that it creates this segmentation where NVIDIA is kind of helping developers make games that run better on NVIDIA hardware, and potentially, depending on who you believe, make it more difficult to run on AMD hardware, or at least more difficult to optimize.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say more difficult to run.
So, if you had your way, would you say, developer X, I would like you to use GameWorks, or I wouldn't like you to use GameWorks? And let's give you guys two. You know what? Let's straw poll it. Yeah. So I want two options. I want AAA developer, and then I want indie developer. So allow multiple poll choices. So AA developer yes, AAA developer no, indie yes, indie no. Would you like for them to use it, or would you like for them to not? If they can save some dev costs, if they can bring it to you earlier, if they can spend that time on developing gameplay more as opposed to animating better fire or something like that. How do you guys feel about it? Because I mean, to me, GameWorks is a very natural evolution of what already existed as gaming evolved, the way it's meant to be played, these programs where NVIDIA and AMD, and often both of them at the same time, are working very closely with game developers in order to optimize the game. To me, this is just NVIDIA taking a very proactive approach to that. So instead of a game developer building something, bringing it to NVIDIA and them going, okay, let's optimize it, they're giving them something that's optimized in the first place. It doesn't feel wrong to me. But it does put AMD at a disadvantage, but that's just AMD, or that's just NVIDIA working very closely with developers and proactively helping developers make better games, even though...
They could go out of their way and let the source code be leaked to AMD.
If you were NVIDIA, would you do that?
See, but...
They built the technology.
Yeah, you've got multiple arguments for that as well.
But then you can turn around and go, AMD built TressFX and allows anyone to use it in all one game that it's being used in, whereas NVIDIA has created tools. I mean, that's something that I got to look at too, and I go, okay, AMD or NVIDIA can say, here's what we're giving to developers, but at the end of the day, whether or not developers are using them, to me, even though I'm not a game dev and I don't really understand how these tools work very intimately, I look at it and I go, well, this is the one the developers are actually using. How useful was the other stuff that they're not using? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Personally, I don't think I'm as against GamesWorks as a lot of people are, and that's another thing too. Like if you look back at the Forbes article, they have a picture for 290X versus 770. If you see that.
Oh, can you send me the link?
It's in the doc.
It's in the doc. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Right there.
There we go. All right, so guys, here's the image that Luke is referring to.
And then if you go to, I wonder if I can find it on the network. I should be able to find it on the network. I should have looked for this earlier. But my charts, I seriously don't think it was that bad. Like the gap differences for tier equivalents,
right,
were really not that far away. Especially considering like how scared so many people were at the very beginning. And considering that we run stock coolers on everything, so the current NVIDIA stock coolers are making colder cards than the current AMD ones are, which are running really hot. So a lot of our
both AMD and NVIDIA benefit from a cooler running card.
Yeah, exactly. So some of our overclocks are getting higher on NVIDIA right now just because we have more overclocking headroom due to thermals. If we do stock cards, so next generation it might flip-flop.
Reference cards.
Reference cards, yeah, sorry.
To be clear.
So... like, it's not like that changed, and the AMD cards are still really close, so I don't know. I don't see it being this horrible thing that everyone's talking about. Like, maybe it was harder for AMD to do it. I know they're talking about how they're not going to be able to fix it as much afterwards with drivers as they could have before. It's in the actual folder for the actual thing.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, ultimately, the thing here, though, is that both AMD and NVIDIA did manage to have optimized drivers available for the game's public release. And then, for all the good it did anyone, because Watch Dogs is, well,
Yeah.
a bit of a dog right now.
In the Forbes article, he's showing 290X and 7070 being very competitive. In mine,
Here, I've got it now. Here we go.
there.
So guys, have a look at this. So we've got 780 and 290X being within 10% of each other, and then 290 trailing another couple of percent after that, with 770 getting absolutely destroyed.
And like everyone calls us NVIDIA fanboys. And like, what? The Forbes article showed them with the 770 winning, and they're like, ah, AMD was crushed in this, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. They did totally fine. It wasn't even that bad. For how much they were suppressed and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually see it as being that big of a deal. Maybe the run that I had didn't have a crazy amount of GameWorks effects. I don't know. I really
But
don't think
I gotta
it was
wonder
that bad.
what Forbes.com knows about game benchmarking anyway. No, and I actually didn't read the article. So straight up, I didn't read the article. Maybe you guys can tell me. Maybe they have a fantastic benchmarking methodology. I'll be the first to admit ours isn't the best either. But I wonder how they're actually benchmarking the game.
Yeah.
Because it just has nothing to do with the results that we're getting. So, to my knowledge, they haven't done a ton of video card reviews. Like, I saw an R9 295X2 one because I was getting a lot of tweets back when that card was released going, hey, Linus, why did you not get a sample of this card and Forbes.com did? And I was kind of like, I don't know. Because Forbes isn't really known. They're more known for market analysis and less known for actually taking physical hardware and reviewing it. So it just seemed like a bit of a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
So there you have it, guys. That's the current state of affairs. We'll update you guys if anything happens, but I personally see this as a bit of a non-issue for the moment, especially because the differences in performance really don't look very different from other games, whether they are a way it's meant to be played or a gaming evolved title. In fact, I haven't seen obvious optimization to the point where it's like, yes, this game is clearly handicapped in a really long time.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our next topic. Speaking of watchdogs, this was an article from the Register, but they're not the only ones reporting on this. Tens of thousands of watchdogs pirates enslaved by Bitcoin bot master. I think that's a very sensationalist headline. But it doesn't change anything about the fact that pirating games is just plain not a very good idea sometimes. So basically what was happening is your machine, you would install the game and run it, and your machine would launch another executable that would start to mine Bitcoins for the... Right now, it's not very clear whether it was the original cracker of the game or whether it was someone who took a cracked release that they claim they never did. Maybe you have some...
On the Watch Dogs video, people were saying that I was wrong because I said the guy that cracked it put in the thing, but then other places where I've looked up are saying that the guy that cracked it just faked Skid Row's name. Skid Row's a very popular, well-known game cracker. So I don't know what actually happened, but something happened, and one that a lot of people downloaded had a miner in it.
So the great thing about this is, particularly on lower-end machines, that was having a dramatic impact on the game's performance, which might be where some of the, oh, Watch Dogs runs terribly stuff was coming from, although from what we've seen, it really doesn't look better than something like Far Cry 3.
Unless the official version also has a miner in it.
I don't think so.
I'm kidding. One thing that I thought was pretty funny.
That's interesting.
What?
A free game that instead of being, you can choose. You can go, okay, I'll pay for the game,
or I'll mine for you.
Or I'll mine for you. That's interesting. Anyway, moving along.
One thing I want to bring up, another one of the comments on the video, I should have quoted this somewhere, but the guy was saying, it's funny because the pirated version didn't get a 3-hour mission, which was defeating Uplay to be able to play the game.
Yeah, I know, right?
That was hilarious. I don't. He might have said it in some other way, but yeah, it's so true. Trying to benchmark it was really difficult because logging into Uplay was such a challenge. Half the time it would just be like, you don't have an internet connection. I'm like, actually, yeah, I do. Would really like if you just worked now. And you have to sit there clicking try again for forever.
So the way that it worked is it would launch this miner, and then once you close down the game, that would actually continue to run. So whoever did this is like pretty freaking happy right now.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of pretty upset people about the fact that they just generated a bunch of bitcoins for some butthead.
You pirated the game, so I can't feel that bad.
One of the conspiracy theories running around was that Ubisoft did it.
I don't think they're that in need of money.
But that would be pretty funny. Leaking your own pirated game, but just putting a Bitcoin miner in it. So it's like, yeah, you don't want to pay for the game? Guess what, dog?
That would actually be really funny. Or if it was like some guy at Ubisoft that did it with that intention.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to our... Oh, we never got the straw poll results. Did I get a link for that?
I posted in chat a billion times. If we just go...
I don't think I have the link. So, okay. I'm afraid of what's going to happen if we do this. But if I just...
No. Just go to chat.
Go to chat. Okay, I'm going to chat. I got this. Okay, guys, so let's have a look at the straw poll results. I don't remember what I asked. Yes. Should they use GameWorks? And wow. So the majority of you made it a multi-vote poll, right?
Yep.
Well, I don't think too many people voted for more than one result. I think that adds up to about 100%. But anyway, the majority of you are just saying yes. And especially indie devs, you'd like to see indie devs be able to take advantage of this, deliver a game, that runs on AMD hardware.
The math is based on the amount of votes there, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So that might look better than if... I don't remember what I'm talking... Right, that might look better than if they had to code all this stuff themselves. As long as it runs on AMD, then you're still totally cool with them optimizing it using NVIDIA's tools. So... I think that's great because there's been a lot of back and forth about this, with some people declaring GameWorks to be the worst thing ever and others, kind of trumpeting the NVIDIA horn. And I don't think either is the right answer. It's somewhere in between, as it usually is whenever fanboys get involved in some kind of an argument.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like... When I was reading through all this kind of stuff, I was expecting the worst thing ever.
Me too.
And then it was just really not that bad.
I was expecting half of Watch Dogs to basically be running off of NVIDIA Grid at their headquarters, and Ubisoft didn't even know what was inside the black box, but it's not that at all.
Wasn't it BioShock, where if you had an AMD card, you couldn't see certain effects in the game? Like you couldn't see the water coming out of a pipe?
You're thinking of Borderlands 2.
Borderlands 2. Yeah, sorry, not Bio.
Yeah. I was expecting something more along those lines.
Yeah.
And that is still something that A, bothers me, and B, I do think is terrible for the industry. The way that PhysX is implemented and will always be implemented as long as it's not something that AMD and NVIDIA users can leverage equally is just not that compelling to me. Once we can use PhysX technology across the board, you could actually make a game that's designed to use it and make that destructibility of the environment and all those other things that you can do through PhysX an integral part of gameplay. The last game we got that really used PhysX was Cell Factor, and that was a PhysX showcase piece.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah.
And poopy. Not a very well received game at all. As much as it's great to walk around on the street and kick cans out of your way, it doesn't feel like a compelling gameplay element to me. All right, so the original poster on linustechtips.com was Ren for this one.
Finally, a super easy name to say.
Yeah, I know, right? I have so much difficulty with that.
Ren, please post more.
JP Research Team develops SSD middleware that improves speed by 300%. And the headlines don't seem to necessarily all agree about exactly how this works, but basically what they're doing is instead of writing data on a new blank page, data is written on a fragmented page located in the block to be erased next. So it's kind of predictively, because the way that SSDs work is you can't just overwrite something. you have to blank it first, which is actually the time-consuming part of writing something. But it gets more complicated than that. You can't just blank something and then write over top of it, because you might need to rearrange some of the stuff that's written within that cell and put it somewhere else. But it gets more complicated than that, because even if you were to rewrite all this stuff all over the place, blank it, and then write to it, you don't want to unnecessarily blank pages if you don't have to, because that significantly degrades the longevity of the SSD. So the way that they work is really complicated. What this is going to do is it's going to look for, predictively, which one is going to be blanked next, and then try to proactively make room for your write. So it might not affect read speeds that much, but it will affect reads in the context of that you won't have to wait around for writes, and it should affect write speeds dramatically. And they're also claiming that you could increase the product life up to, I think they're saying, around 55%. Not to mention you lower power consumption because you're not doing as much random shuffling around of data. But wait, there's more. It looks like this could be as simple as a middleware layer that sits between the SSD and your operating system and does all, or between your driver or between the controller. Sits in the middle. It sits in the middle somewhere, and you might not even need a new SSD.
Which is kind of awesome. I don't see a ton of different manufacturers implementing this for free.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's going to be more like now with Turbo Charge Uber Wanger. I don't know.
Wanger?
Whatever. I don't know. Wanger could mean fast. Probably not.
No. I'm thinking.
Wow,
no,
that car is totally Wanger.
Oh God, don't make that a thing. It was in a simulation, so I'm not sure if we'll see exactly this much speed and power improvement, all that kind of stuff in real life. But it's exciting to see someone improving SSDs in this way.
Yeah. I mean, SSD. The thing about SSDs is look at how stagnant it's been.
Yep.
In terms of flash speeds, in terms of interface speeds, and in terms of capacities. It's not really moving very fast, and everyone's kind of jumping on the, whoa, we need PCI Express, and we need SATA Express, and we needed it 2 years ago. Did we? Flash is not getting faster. With each new generation, Flash is continuing to actually get slower and less reliable because of the smaller manufacturing processes. And it's not like, and we're not going to get a dramatic improvement there until we get a big shift in the way that Flash is manufactured. So
People are saying Wanger in chat.
Raise your wangers.
Oh,
okay, guys,
no.
you've got 2 minutes of raising wangers all you want, and then we need it to go away, or we're going to start giving people timeouts. But basically, we need smarter software, we need smarter controllers in order to really get more out of our SSDs. I think a great example is Plextor's M6E, which is straight up not faster than a SATA SSD in real-world tests. Yes, you get better sequential reads and not necessarily even writes, but we're limited by other factors still, so...
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what this does when it's actually in the hands of people instead of a simulation.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, I love it how we're always getting these, like, new holographic disk enables 500 terabytes per disk, and then it turns out it's impossible to manufacture. There's some other kind of show-stopping...
And, like, you can put data on it, but you can never read from it. It's like, oh.
Yeah, well. Like, you have to, like, make it out of, like, ubiquitanium, which, contrary to the name, is not ubiquitous.
Oh, it's just like, so everyone has this one. That is a segue into Skype Translator, because it's something that they're talking about, which I really don't think is going to happen, at least anytime soon. It's like way down in rapid fire.
Okay, I'll find it. Go ahead and keep...
There's not even really much I want to say about this. They're trying to do something called Skype Translator, which, as far as I can tell, is going to take what you say and translate it into some form of TTS or text-to-speak, and then say it out of the other person's speakers or headphones or whatever. So you can talk to people over Skype in different languages, and it's all translated.
And this was posted by Rafi on the forum? Go ahead.
Like, the open API for Microsoft translating stuff is terrible. And it's Microsoft, so they'll probably work on it, and then, like, it'll disappear or something. And there's way more important things, in my opinion, that they need to fix with Skype, so hopefully they do that instead of making this. I don't know how many people are going to go for voice chat over Skype that don't know how to speak a common language, but it might be fun. Honestly, when looking at this, I see it more as being fun than anything else. And like maybe it'll help people learn different languages or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, I see it being kind of niche, like something like this. Like, I didn't know about this, even though it's about a 4-year-old app for iPhone at this point. But WordLens
Yeah.
allows you to look at something in real time through your phone and have it actually translate on the fly. And it's actually, like, it's pretty darn cool. We were playing around with it a little bit today at NCIX. But by and large, most people won't be using it. I mean, I think that in the future we're going to see
It's a cool
language
idea.
barriers broken down this way, but
I don't think this is really it.
we're so far away that it's not like Oculus where it's like, yeah, we're like pumped about this because it's like happening soon. It's like, yeah,
My
when
phone can barely tell what I'm saying to it now with like Google Voice.
yeah.
I don't think it's really going to work when it's like going through different languages. And then there's all the problems with converting language into another language and then having it still make any sense at all.
Yep.
That's a huge issue, especially when you bring in stuff like slang and other things.
Which
So-
leads us pretty well into Google starting to build their own self-driving cars. I wish I could say I called this. I did say I thought we were going to get an iCar, but Apple has instead gone. It's funny. You look at the reversal here, where Apple used to be all about building it themselves, and Google used to be all about partnering. Whereas now, for phones, I think that they have been bitten a little bit on the whole partnering thing. They've created a monster out of Samsung and kind of gone, well, hold on a second. They would have been nowhere
Yeah,
without
yeah.
Android, without us. And you look at Glass. I mean, yes, they're releasing the lightweight Android that's going to run on wearables, and they will have partners. But they've done most of the branding around it themselves with their own hardware before they're even talking about, letting anyone else have access to any of this stuff. You look at what they're doing with this car, where they're going to build their own self-driving car. You look at Nexus program or whatever it's called, Silver now or whatever else. Feels like they're moving in the direction of controlling the user experience, and there is something to be said for that. But then Apple, on the other hand, is going, okay, yeah, we're going to partner with Ford and Toyota and everyone to integrate our technology into the existing products. So this is it, guys. Yeah, it looks ridiculous, but that's not really the point.
It looks like a super unimpressed little like teddy bear.
yeah,
just
it
like-
does kind of look like a face, doesn't it? Yeah, and if you
Like
actually,
a totally not happy face at all. He's just like, nope, I'm doing things. You enslaved me to drive around, so I guess I can do that, or whatever.
it is kind of slavery, I guess. So
Poor little
basically,
car. I'm gonna be so sad.
This was posted on the forum by Johners, and instead of even having a steering wheel or pedals, which is something I personally am pretty uncomfortable with, I'd like
Yep.
to have the option
To manual override.
to manual override. I mean, this is like that that Doctor Who episode where
Or the iRobot thing.
yeah, it's like anything where someone decides, yeah, we're gonna drive you into the sea,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do about it. I would like to have a steering wheel and pedals, but no, it will have a stop and go button. And that is pretty much it. Very interesting. Self-driving.
You know, he
Wow.
can't be sad because the plastic doesn't go that far. So maybe he is sad. Maybe it's like even worse than we expect because he can't pull the size of his mouth down anymore. So he's showing the least amount of happiness as he can, and Google is forcing that little car to be a minimum amount of happy.
Would you miss driving?
Mm,
Gross.
probably. A little bit. Not really though. Because if I could do other stuff while I was in the car, it'd be a lot more productive.
A lot of people won't be able to anyway, just because of motion sickness.
Yeah, I would probably actually have a problem with that.
Like, I don't. I used to get motion sick pretty hardcore, but I just I think I built up a tolerance to it or something.
Mine seems to flip flop. Like
Right.
one day it'll be a problem and I can't read my phone, and then the other day it's totally fine. And like it seems to depend on what car I'm in and who's driving, and like there's tons of different variables, so I have no idea.
It's funny how it's designed to make it seem non-threatening and help people accept self-driving technology, but I just think it looks kind of ridiculous.
It does, and like saying that quote right there is like, wow, I'm now scared.
Apparently, earlier ones will have extra controls, so test drivers can take over if there's a problem. That sounds like the one that I would be interested in having.
Yeah.
So it will be an electric vehicle. It'll have a combination of lasers and radar to drive. I mean, I personally am really excited for self-driving technology. I just am not 100% sure how I feel about Google doing it at this point with how broke Google Maps has been for me lately. It's just every little thing. And you know what? I'm going to get feedback from people where they go, it's great, it's amazing, it works for me perfectly every time. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But that doesn't change the fact that my experience hasn't been that positive lately. And all the feedback about how Take Me Home doesn't work, and everyone's like, yeah, it does. I demoed on the show last week. You know what? It straight up doesn't work for me. Sorry, it doesn't work for, it's not consistent enough. And we're talking about my life now.
And this is like, people publicly complain about both of these things, but there's far more people publicly complaining about Google Maps, and I've been having tons of troubles with it lately.
I mean, you were trying to find a Tim Hortons. It shouldn't be hard to find a Tim Hortons in Canada, and there were 2 that my mom was able to give us directions to that Google Maps was not giving him the nearest locations for, and was telling him to go, what, like 20 minutes away or something?
It was pretty far away.
And there was one, like, down the street.
Walking distance from where I'd parked.
So I'm sitting here going, what are you guys doing? We're finding the nearest branch of a chain of restaurants is
like super popular in Canada, a chain of restaurants.
Is functionality that worked 2 years ago.
And this one was in a mall and had been there for a very long time, and it didn't know it was
And there was another one down the road that wasn't in a mall, in case being in the mall was the problem. This is technology that worked really well back when I first started using Google Maps, and I'm having a lot of trouble with it lately.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm still planning to have you switch to the iPhone for a little while just to try it out. Try Apple Maps, because I was pretty impressed.
As long as it doesn't like drive me into a lake like it used to, then it'll probably be fine. We can't forget about that.
Speaking of Apple, Apple has confirmed the acquisition of Beats. So that whole video that leaked where Dr. Dre was boasting about the world's first, I think, who was it? I think it was someone else actually pointing at him and sort of boasting for him. But the point was, the world's first rap billionaire. You know what? Good for him, is all I really have to say. It is inexplicable to me that Beats headphones were ever a thing. But it was reading the Verge article here. This was posted originally on the forum by
the best efforts of like every tech enthusiast ever.
Alex Goes High. This was, I think it was 30% or something like that. I can't find the number, but based on some market research, I think it was something like 30% of headphone buyers above $100 wanted an endorsement on it. And I'm kind of sitting here going, like, I weep for all of this. Like, I just don't know what to say anymore. There was...
Wait, they wanted an endorsement?
They wanted to see an endorsement before they would be willing to spend big money on a pair of headphones. So, from a previous Verge article, allegedly a pair of $200 Beats headphones was somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 to produce. I'm not sure if I quite believe that, because that might be a BOM cost, but BOM costs do not represent the amount of product development that goes into building something. It doesn't account for R&D. It doesn't account for, plastic molding. It doesn't account for any other prototyping processes. It doesn't account for marketing, where admittedly a big part of the Beats experience is the marketing and celebrity endorsements.
Probably the biggest.
That is probably the biggest part of it. But the point is that even R&D, it just straight up doesn't account for all of that. But
they're also buying other things while they're buying this company. Like, they're not just buying like Beats.
Yes.
Release Beats headphones.
There's more to it than the headphones. I mean, I think that the fact that the brands are so similar in that they're able to achieve better than industry margins on their products, I think that's a key part of the acquisition. Although one other thing that I'd like to see if it happens is Apple's been willing to take less than Beats margin on their products for the sake of building a truly high quality premium product. And I would like to see if Apple's willing to spend $44 instead of $14, or even $80 on a pair of Beats headphones that they're willing to sell for $200 or $250. I would like to see what they can bring to that, because guys, and don't kid yourselves, the companies that you love, you know, the Sennheisers and AKGs and Audio Technicas of the world, they're making pretty good margin on headphones too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like Beats is doing something.
It doesn't cost $1,500 to make a pair of HD800s.
Yeah, to be 100% clear, if you think it costs that much, you're dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're actually stupid.
There's no way.
It doesn't cost that much, but again, there's the R&D. So I would like to see if Apple could tone down the whole celebrity endorsement thing, something they haven't done much with.
Not much.
With much of anything since like the Bono days. So if they could tone that down a little bit, spend a little bit more on the actual materials and R&D, I'd be interested to see what they can come up with. But they're acquiring more than that. They're also getting their Beats' streaming service, which is something that Apple hasn't been able to or willing to build for themselves, and is becoming much more popular, with services like Spotify taking the place of the more traditional. It's funny to be calling dollar MP3 downloads from iTunes traditional. It feels like not that long ago the iPod revolution was happening, right?
Yeah. One thing that's been really frustrating lately is like one group that I've been listening to a lot is man, what is it? Jukebox. Oh man, now I'm not going to be able to remember what it's called. But it's this group on YouTube that makes music. The only way to possibly buy their stuff is through iTunes. Like, I don't want to install that terrible piece of crap.
Right. It's not Monster Cat, is it?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember the name of it.
Someone wants Linus Tech Audio headphones. Yeah, I don't think so. I'll be the first to admit that I don't know enough about headphones to make headphones. So there you have it. It happened. I'm super interested to see what happens. This is Apple's biggest acquisition to date. And let's move on then, shall we? TrueCrypt has been compromised, or maybe hasn't been compromised.
It's an interesting setup. If you go to the link at the bottom of the TrueCrypt article in the doc.
Yeah, so posted by Ion Bassa on the forum here.
That's
a second.
That's a comment, I think. Yeah, that was a comment on the thread.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think I closed it now. Posted by Astro Zombie. Sorry about that.
Now, if you go to the bottom link, truecrypt.ch, this is a new movement that has come up since the whole TrueCrypt thing happened. And this website not only tracks what's going on with TrueCrypt right now, it's the like safe thing, which who knows if that's actually true or not, but someone's saying that it's currently safe at this point in time. But that the source code is just sitting there, so how long it'll be safe for, we don't know, or if it is even actually safe right now, we don't know. These guys are planning on trying to pick up the project. It's not a what do they call it? It's not like a branch or anything like that. They're taking part of the license agreement of TrueCrypt, which allows people to kind of mess with their source code, and they're going to be making their own. So anyone who had TrueCrypt, anyone who's using TrueCrypt, we're probably not screwed. Luckily, this group has come together, and hopefully good things will come from this. They have a blog coming soon, they have a forum coming soon, and any information that you need about TrueCrypt will probably be at truecrypt.ch.
Okay.
So, who the heck knows what's really going on right now?
Maybe a little bit of what was going on.
It seems like with the close of Windows XP and most things being built into operating systems, the TrueCrypt project has been kind of abandoned. TrueCrypt wasn't. It was kind of taken for granted for a really long time, the fact that it even existed. And it's been kept up to date by just this fairly small group of people for a very long time, and they're just kind of done. That's about it. They're just, it's been like 10 years or something. I don't remember exactly how long it's been, but they're done with it now. There's Windows 8.1 is blocking it with their Smart Screen feature. It's where is it?
I think it's detecting it as malware.
Yeah, because
Which
it's
it might be
it might
right
be
now the latest version, but then maybe it isn't. We don't know.
Yeah, one thing is I wouldn't go to TrueCrypt's actual website to download it. I would probably go to truecrypt.ch. As far as I've seen a lot of people talking right now, truecrypt.ch seems to be legit. And the truecrypt.org website is, a lot of people have been speculating it might have been broken into and things might have been injected and there might be problems going on. I don't know. Seriously, as far as I can tell, there's new news coming out about this. Like every hour, I check up on it, and we've been on the show for a little while now, so maybe something even changed. But yeah, if you're very interested in TrueCrypt, I would check out truecrypt.ch and keep paying attention there. Hopefully, they get their forums and their blog going soon, so that people can have a hub to talk about it on, and that should be good.
And that should be good.
I hope so.
This is the conclusion.
I really like TrueCrypt and I use it a lot, so I really hope that someone properly picks up this project and keeps it going. And that all the oh my god, the NSA was running it and all this other crap stuff doesn't end up being true. I don't know. It probably is. Whatever. What I'm hiding is really not that important, so it's fine. Oh well. I guess you can have my online banking information, which you probably have anyways. Jerks.
I know, right? It's like the most disappointing thing ever. Everything feels futile at this point, but it isn't. It's still worth it to keep trying to protect your rights and all that noise.
Yep.
Speaking of protecting your rights, this was originally posted on the forum by Gamer Dad. All right.
Oh god.
Nintendo has a plan for Let's Plays. And if you guys remember that whole big fiasco that was going on where there we go. Where Nintendo was pulling the monetization from anyone that was uploading their content. So that's audio or video from their games. In fact, we had it happen back when we were playing Super Mario World on the After Party. And our monetization got pulled on that video. So they just started pulling monetization back to themselves. Because I don't know if you guys know how this works, but there's a few different things that can happen if you're infringing content. So for example, my default... Okay, so number one is if you have no infringing content in your video, then you dispute whatever claim, and then Google gives it back to you, usually 3 days to 14 days later, from my experience. If you legitimately have infringing content in your video, there's a couple of things that the owner can do. So my default channel upload setting is monetization, but then I uploaded my wedding video to my Linus Cat Tips channel, which had a song in it. Didn't even think about it. So the owner of that song went, and they have two options. They can either pull down my video or they can monetize against my video so that every view, instead of monetizing for me, monetizes for them. And that's what they opted to do. So the video is still up there. And so that's what Nintendo opted to do, is they just pulled the monetization from these videos to themselves. And I kind of look at that and I go okay, yes, I understand.
You have the right to do that.
It's sort of.
It's just dumb.
It's not very black and white, whether or not they can. Things like whether or not it's a derivative work or whether or not it's who it actually belongs to is really not that clear right now legally. But YouTube's allowing it and Nintendo's doing it, and even if they do have the right, it's still kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
But anyway, that whole thing happened. So now their brilliant plan is to develop an affiliate program to share the revenue that they've scooped between itself, YouTube, and the content creator.
I don't, how do you not understand? Nintendo's biggest problem right now is that everyone's just ignoring them because it's hard to remember that they exist at this point in time. And then they're trying to make it really difficult for people to bring them into the spotlight. What are you possibly thinking?
If any, and the kinds of games that Nintendo focuses on, things like party games or platformers, or...
It's not going to ruin the experience by watching someone play it.
I'm not going to not want to play Super Smash Brothers because I had the entire experience from watching someone else play it. That's stupid.
Or especially something like Mario Party. What you're actually watching that for is, the experience of those people playing.
So if it's a game that's heavily story-driven and something where I really think that gamers are going to watch a Let's Play instead of buying the game, I get it. I understand the developer's perspective here. It's really not fair. Something like Walking Dead, or something like Wolf Among Us, where it's
Or Brothers, Tale of Two Sons.
basically just a story. It's a movie in the form of a game, an interactive game, story, movie, whatever. You get my point. I get it. But something like Nintendo's games, really, if anything, I agree with the Let's Players and I agree with the YouTubers who are saying, look, we're driving exposure for your game. You should be paying us to play your game and broadcast it to our thousands of fans. So
It's just so backwards.
details will be announced in the future, but I'm really
And, like-
disappointed. I want to like Nintendo. I really do.
Yeah,
I was like a Nintendo kid growing up.
So many people where I was.
You're disappointing me, Nintendo. Is the revenue really so much that it's going to
Yeah,
affect
that too.
your millions of dollars deficit? I don't think so. I think you have other things to focus on.
Ugh, it's just, it seems so blind. Like, it seems like they just have no idea what's going on. So does this.
All right, this Misanthrope and I have a bit of an off and on sort of good or bad relationship. We're a little up and down because sometimes he can be a bit of a butthead, and other times his buttheadedness really hits the nail on the head. And I think this post is actually pretty good. It starts with, and it's okay. Would love for news posts to be written in a neutral voice.
I hope he changes his title to Resident Butthead.
Resident Butthead. I hope so too.
Just because you call him that, I think that would be hilarious.
So the first line in his article, in his write up about it, is a developer's defense of 30 frames per second, aka the resolution is just a number argument on crack. And so 60F. This is from, who is this? What dev is this from again? I can't remember right
They
now.
make 1866, I believe it is.
Okay.
I don't remember the actual name of the dev. I'll find that.
So here it goes. 60 FPS is really responsive and really cool. I enjoy playing games at 60 FPS. But one thing that really changes is the aesthetic of the game in 60 FPS. We're going for this filmic look. So one thing that we knew immediately was films run at 24 FPS. We're going to run at 30 because 24 FPS does not feel good to play. So there's one concession in terms of making it aesthetically pleasing, but it just has to feel good to play. And I'm kind of sitting here going, okay, so you both understand the issue and entirely missed the point at the same time, because you understood that 24 FPS might be good for film and isn't good for games, but you didn't understand that 30 FPS might look filmic in a video, but it still isn't good for games. It's still not responsive. We actually have a fastest possible episode about refresh rates and how 30 hertz and thereby 30 FPS is just plain not enough information for your eyes per second. Coming out tonight that is sort of along these lines, but basically here's the issue. 24 FPS looks good in a movie because of the way a camera works.
And I don't even always agree with that.
And I don't even always agree either. Fast motion in 24 frames per second looks very visually disorienting
You can
to me.
see it chop. I think the last one that I saw was, it's not Defiance. Is it Defiance? I don't remember. It's basically a different version of the Hunger Games, which is a different version of some other thing, but whatever. I don't care. They go past this fence.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tall poles on the fence, and as it swings past, it's just like slice, slice, slice,
Yeah.
and you can see the frames chopping. It's so brutal.
Looks redonkulous.
Oh, man.
But the reason it works is because the way that a camera, whether it's film or whether it's a digital sensor, captures light is by exposing it for a certain amount of time. That's the shutter speed, is how long it's being exposed for. So what happens is if something's moving during that exposure period, you get blur. You get natural blur. That's why a movie looks so much better while you watch it than it does if you grab a screen grab of it and it looks blurry and poopy, because your brain is what's actually doing the work. Whereas in a game, you don't have motion blur naturally. Motion blur is not a natural side effect of rendering a frame in motion. You render frame by frame. And motion blur that gets added to games is terrible, because the only way to add motion blur is to either try to anticipate what's going to happen next, or buffer 2 frames, buffer an extra frame so that you can intentionally blur the difference between them. That's how motion blur works in games. It's a cheesy effect. And it will never be correct. It'll never be good, and it'll always add lag. Maybe don't quote me on that. Maybe they'll find some genius. Like, by the time we're hooked up to, like, our Oculus Rifts and, like, our brain probe things, it may actually know what you're going to do next and put motion blur in for you. But by that time, we'll have displays that run at 600 hertz and games that run at 600 frames per second anyway. So it doesn't really matter. We don't need motion blur in games, and 30 FPS is not good enough, and you can't compensate with motion blur to make it look more cinematic. Do it in your cutscene. Don't do it in the game. And as gamers, we have to all demand better. We have to ask for better. And I know the hardware for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 just straight up isn't good enough to run with modern lighting effects and all this other stuff. So, I guess PC.
I can't find where this is, but total here 30 FPS is not a divine choice.
It's not a design choice.
Design choice, sorry. It is a last resort when dealing with inferior hardware. And he has a whole bunch of other quotes too. And my favorite thing in this whole article actually was the very end. Where is it?
So it's actually a Kotaku article originally. I'll just go ahead and throw
yeah,
that
and it's bullet pointed actually if you scroll down. But what he says is a higher frame rate does not significantly affect sales of a game. A higher frame rate does not significantly affect the reviews of a game. Right there, bullet pointed and like bolded on certain things, and like that's a serious part of the article. And Total Biscuit just tore them apart on like this exact thing. I can't find the exact tweets that he has about it, but it's somewhere else. But just like, yeah, actually it does. Sorry, but you're totally wrong.
And if it doesn't, it should.
And but like one of the most outspoken people in terms of game reviews, Total Biscuit, which is awesome, constantly rips on games that are frame rate capped.
Yep.
He's one of the biggest game reviewers there are. Are you that blind? Doesn't affect game reviews. You're wrong. 100%. Like, just no. Oh, man.
If you were them, what would you do? What could you say? You can't say the Xbox
Not
One and the
build it that
PlayStation
way.
4 are crappy. And I would rather they code their game with better effects that we can enjoy on our PCs and let the console guys run at 30 frames per second, rather than just dumbing down the way that the game runs outright. So I still would rather they make 30 FPS games as long as I don't have to play them. So if you're them, what can you say then? You have no choice but to do exactly what they're doing.
No, they just built it terribly. Just have it so that it looks better on PC and is able to run faster. And
Yeah,
then
but
have a
if
crippled down version for console.
If they do that, then it looks like they're intentionally crippling the console version.
You have to.
I mean, I think, okay, really there is a solution here, and I'm just kind of being a jerk right now. Give them a graphics slider on the console. Or not.
Yeah.
Or a 3060 toggle. Why not?
I could see that, yeah.
Why
I can see a
not?
lot of people taking advantage of that.
If the
actually.
game can run on PS3 and PS4, then it can sure as hell run at 60 FPS on PS4.
And like just, yeah, 3060 toggle that just does everything for you.
Yeah. Why not?
It just like turns down your resolution a whole bunch, turns down any effects a whole bunch.
But gives you a smoother gameplay experience. Some people will prefer that.
And that's how you get like everybody on your side.
Yep.
And because they're going to be like, yeah, it's a beautiful game unless you don't want it to be, and then it runs at 60 FPS.
All right, so something that actually we should probably do our sponsors for the show today. Number one is Modus, and where is my lower third for that? That isn't it, but we can go ahead and add it to that in the meantime here. It's in the folder, yes. Add media file and live stream assets and integration lower thirds.
This is really...
Where is it?
I'll show you how to do it faster later.
Is there a faster way to do this?
But it's cool. We'll do it next time.
Okay. You know what? I don't know what to do right now.
How about you do your thing and I'll try to get it.
Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to throw the Actually, it'll be kind of nice to talk about the G750JZ without you distracting me for a change. So, guys, the Asus G750JZ is Asus's... Okay, it's not light, okay? It's not particularly small, but what it is it is a powerful desktop replacement grade gaming notebook that we actually are starting to like more and more as time goes on. The video we did yesterday where we pitted GTX 880M versus dual 860Ms in SLI, both with basically the same CPU, both with the same 4 gig frame buffer, was those tests were very revealing, and we found that if you are willing to accept the thicker notebook that comes along with needing to be able to cool a really high performance single GPU, because you've got that heat density to contend with, you're able to get a more consistently high performance gaming experience than if you were to rely on something like SLI, which is something that I've always really advocated for, a single high-end GPU versus 2 lower-end ones. The drawback, of course, is that it does come in heavier and it does come in larger, but...
Is that why this is the Jay-Z laptop, and then maybe the other one's 2 chains because he has 2 graphics cards? Boom! Stepped in. Anyways, I'm gonna keep working.
Oh, I'm so tired of you. And then there are other advantages with the thicker form factor as well. We found that this notebook ran about 15 degrees cooler under load on the GPU, which is significant, and ran significantly quieter, in addition to being cooler, with the fan noise being a more desirable low hum versus a high-pitched whine. So there you go, guys. The G750JZ is powerful enough for video editing and content creation, has a desktop grade, and Asus doesn't call it that, but I'm just going to call it that because it truly is. Desktop grade graphics card in it, and... Alright, what else we got here? Oh, that is faster. Geeksteaks 2014. Modus is giving away a butt ton, like 1 metric butt ton of really cool stuff, including an Oculus Rift, a gaming notebook. They gave away a gaming mouse already. They're giving away a Lytro camera. They're giving away all kinds of freaking awesome stuff. And all you have to do is head over to their Facebook page. So that's facebook.com/Modus, and you will be entered for a chance to win. It's open to US and Canadian residents. And if you're wondering who the heck Modus is, they are an IT staffing company, which is something that before they reached out to us about participating in Geeksteaks to celebrate Geek Pride Day, I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, well, it's actually pretty simple. For free, people can submit their resumes to us, and then we will work with them and with companies large and small, everything from startups to Fortune 500 companies, to try to place people. And the way they make their money is they have the companies that hire their candidates pay them. So ultimately, there is no drawback to an IT professional reaching out to Modus and seeing what's out there.
Which is great, because if you don't have a job, it's not a point in time that you want to be spending money to try and get a job.
Yeah, exactly, right? I'm going to get the paid LinkedIn because that one will be better. And it is a lot better.
Yeah, but still.
LinkedIn is really good at, like, making you pay for it to be useful at all.
Bugging you.
I know.
I never had a LinkedIn account. Got one recently. I'm just like, wow, I don't want any more emails from you.
You get a lot of emails.
Yeah, I do.
It's just like...
Just leave me alone. I don't care.
I just wanted to update my profile because it seems smarter than, like, writing a resume at this point in time.
Yeah.
I'm moving into the 21st century. It's like, well, would you like a free trial of Premium? So that
Three people looked at your page. This guy sent you a message. Check your thing, please.
You just got endorsed for these skills.
Yeah.
It's like, go away.
Endorse people, please.
I'm not actually looking for a job right now.
This is a core part of our system.
I don't care about you, LinkedIn.
There should be like a please go away button. Like, please, I'll let you know when I'm like interested in this again. Please.
There should be a
just
paid...
auto endorse all of my friends. Just do it.
LinkedIn should totally have a paid option so that I can monitor the activity of my employees. Not like read their messages, but when my employees start, like I should be able to see their activity level on LinkedIn. So if I see unusual spikes, like blah blah blah, updated the profile, sent a bunch of messages, I'll be like,
something's coming. I feel like that would be taken advantage of immediately. Like, people would use it immediately, and
Yeah.
it would be terrible and torn apart very quickly. I guarantee you so many owners would take advantage of it. Though.
Hold on a second, though, because there's a lot of LinkedIn stuff that is public, like activity on it. So
But
if
not
all
PMs.
Yeah, maybe not PMs, but if I could just get a report of activity.
I bet you this could be done with a third party.
Probably could, because it's the kind of thing that I could comb through and find myself. But if I just had it automatically generated for me, that's very interesting.
So business idea for someone, give us 10% like normal.
Yeah.
But make this and then sell your bot to people. And you can just have the bot crawl everything all the time so people can get instant reports when they sign up.
Yes.
And that's what people will want because they'll want to be able to see results immediately. So you just have it permanently crawling all of LinkedIn. And then report
Wow,
out.
that's like the evilest thing ever. Because you know what's funny is I don't remember when it was, but I think Edsel created a LinkedIn profile like right around the time we formed Linus Media Group, or updated it or something, or like it creeped me out that everyone who works here has updated LinkedIn profiles.
I didn't.
Because I didn't have one until I started thinking about leaving NCIX. And so, like, I project, right? Like, I project my own mindset where I'm completely not interested in any kind of social network platform, even a useful one like LinkedIn, unless I have an immediate need.
I didn't have one until a couple months ago. And I knew I was going to get that email from you when I sent you an invite on it. But the only reason why I got one was because I wanted somewhere to put my Coursera course, whatever, like certificate things.
Right, and
that's the only place you can display them.
There's nothing wrong with having updated credentials on LinkedIn. It's good.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I want people who work here to build their portfolios and like build their careers and stuff like that. Like it's just one of those things where I just kind of like,
it's like, are you leaving
I lay in bed at night. Are they all going to bed?
Where are they going?
Please don't leave me.
Why is this happening?
Speaking of why is this happening, you know, my take on the Steam controller was pretty mixed at the beginning. I was like, really? They're doing this? Touchpads? Okay, let's see how this goes. And then my take on it when I tried it back at CES, even though it was quite an early prototype, was, okay, well, let's see where they go from here. Valve has basically delayed it. They're saying, realistically, we're looking at a release window in 2015, and that's pretty much all that they've said. This was posted by Rafi on the forum. Wow, 2 this week, and I don't think I've ever seen you before. And I like you because you have an easy-to-pronounce name. But basically, my take on this...
I don't, because he makes me feel like my forum's broken with his stupid avatar picture.
Oh, yeah, well... All right. My take on this is what probably happened was the original concept of touchpads is stupid. And then you saw what was happening with the prototypes over time, how they got closer and closer and closer to a traditional controller. Upon which time, I think people basically went, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But the issue is that it's not really different. So I think Valve is going through a bit of an identity crisis right now with the Steam controller, where they're going, okay, we wanted to do something like really innovative that changed the way people use controllers, and then we ended up with something that's pretty samey, and we're not getting into this because we just wanted to be a, like, controller manufacturer.
Yeah.
Valve doesn't do stuff like that. They're not getting into SteamOS because they want to make Steam machines. They want to build an ecosystem. Valve is so much smarter than wanting to make gaming peripherals. So I think what's happened is they just don't know what it is anymore. And if I think they're just saying 2015, but it's like Valve time. So I think they're basically going, okay, if we can
when they're done,
rejuvenate this project and make it truly different, then let's do that. And if we can't, I think we might see Steam controller just quietly go away, which I'll be 100% okay with, because up till now, I don't think there's a lot of room to really improve on the controller. You see third-party, I mean, everyone and their dog has had the opportunity to improve the Xbox 360 controller. And we see, like, exoskeletons that go on it. We've seen, like, rockers so that you just shift your hand to press certain buttons. We've seen all kinds of stuff. We've seen modded ones that have the switches replaced and the analog sticks replaced, or joysticks I think they call them now. Whatever, I don't care if they're not analog anymore. And no one's really been able to do it. And now
Xbox 360 controller is freaking awesome.
And now we're down to the point where 3D printers are becoming more affordable, so even some individual could create a better controller if they wanted to. I just don't think there's any room left to innovate. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but I think we're going to see completely different ways of interacting with our games, like augmented reality and VR, before we see a better controller. I think the controller is kind of an amusing amusing ancient way of controlling games by the time my son is my age. Like the old joystick 2-button style that's just gone. Maybe I'm
Well,
wrong.
it makes an interesting point because Nintendo, we all saw that patent for like, what was it? Modular DS. Did you see that patent?
No, I didn't.
It was a DS, but you could slide out all of the parts that interact with the DS and replace them. So people would essentially be able to like make their own D-pad.
Oh no, I did see that, the Nintendo patent. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Sorry.
So it's interesting because controllers are getting like there's so many gamers now. I think that's part of the thing is there's so many gamers across such a huge age gap from everywhere around the world that it's hard to make something for every single person in existence.
Right.
So I think it's getting to the point where it's just like, yeah, make your own or buy these modular things and swap them out.
All right. So, Barnacles was defending his use of Bing on Twitter this week. So
Nah.
I actually I'm using Internet Explorer right now because I haven't bothered to sign into all my crap in a real browser. So
It's true.
Bing is the default. So I search for Leap Motion V2. All right. So I get like a bunch of rubbish sponsored
A lot
stuff
of them.
that has
Like almost the whole page worth.
nothing to do with anything. And arguably, my font size is a little bit large. Like, that's probably
Okay,
more like a normal
okay.
font size. But that is 4 sponsored results that aren't even related to the Leap Motion. And then the first legitimate hit is from the developer blog, but isn't the Leap Motion V2 blog post. And finally, it comes up with this. Google, boom, top one, exactly what I'm looking for. And this just felt related to,
The video's really playing. There you go.
there we go. So this is really cool. This just
Yeah.
felt kind of related to the new ways that we're going to interact with our devices. And what's amazing about this is using the original Leap Motion hardware. They actually haven't changed the hardware. This is just a new, much lower latency, much more accurate software. Isn't that cool?
It's so fast.
Look at that responsiveness.
Like it's crazy fast.
Love it. So, you know what's funny is they offered to send us a review sample like
A year
months
ago
ago.
or something?
No, I contacted them a year ago. And then like months and months ago, they were like, yeah, we'll send you a review sample. And I was like, well, you know, a lot of the hype has died down. Do you have anything new coming that maybe we'll wait for instead? They're like, yeah, we have a software update coming. I'm assuming this is it. And so I saw this. I reached out to them. They're like, yeah, we're out of review samples again. I'm just like, guys, like seriously?
We can help you. We just need you to help yourself.
Like, I just don't even know what to say at that point. They're like, yeah, we can offer you a small discount. And I'm just like, really? So you have a review sample for me when you don't have anything interesting. And then I'm like, yeah, I want to do you a favor. I want to time this to, like, talk about something new and exciting. And it's like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Next time that they offer you one, just take it and then just wait until the
just
next interesting thing comes out.
Sit on it.
Yeah. Just be like, you probably would have just waited if we did something for you anyways. So don't worry about it. We'll get this video to you in about a couple months when you would have contacted us.
All right, so this is 2 things. Number 1 is dogfighting is delayed. Yeah, Star Citizen. You're disappointing us, but there's still time for you to knock our socks
It's
off.
disappointing, but I'm happy they didn't release it completely broken as well.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get it.
I would rather have delays.
Basically, Chris Roberts wrote like this huge long thing. It was like, yeah, look, we want this out there as much as you do. And I believe him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 2 of what we would classify as, I think they call them blocker bugs. Like, just utterly game-breaking bugs that we need to resolve. There's some other critical stuff that we really, really want to fix, and then there's some other stuff that we want to fix. But until we can get those really high-priority fixes in there, it's not coming. Sorry we missed the date. It's coming really soon. The fact that they waited until the last possible minute to tell us that it wasn't going to hit the date, to me, is you can interpret this one of 2 ways, and I lean towards the second one. So you can kind of go, dick move, guys. You're telling us at the last minute we were all excited. Or number 2 could be,
They were
it's probably
working on
because
it.
they might have thought they could still make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's that close. So I really hope it comes soon. Really excited. Guys, don't forget to join the Linus Tech Tips Conglomerate Star Citizen organization. We're falling behind.
Because
Reddit passed us.
what the heck happened?
Yeah, some random organization. Imperium doesn't. Last time you talked to them, that was like 2 days ago. But no one knew who these guys were.
Well,
and all
no,
of a sudden
they know
they're,
who
like,
they are.
huge.
They won like a contest a while back and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but they were
but,
really
like-
small. And then out of nowhere, they got like 5,000 something members in no time at all.
Yeah,
That's how big
explore.
they are now.
So no, you guys need to rally with us.
5,726.
Yeah.
Let's see. They have timestamps for stuff, which is really interesting. So
Yeah,
they
they're
hit.
still updating.
We doubled in size again. 300 new members. That's on April 16th. On May 2nd, they got 732 members in total. On May 25th, they got 1,049 members in total. May 25th to May 28th, they got 4,000 plus members in total. What even happened? Where did all these people come from?
So good
What
for
are they
them.
doing?
Good for them, but Linus Tech Tips Conglomerate still going to be. I mean, really, all of this is just jockeying for position that is ultimately going to be meaningless once the race actually starts.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, you look at any like
I just want to know what happened.
NASCAR race, Formula race. Does being in front at the beginning of the race mean that you win? No. There's a whole lot more.
Yeah, and having a huge amount of members isn't necessarily going to make you win either.
That's true. Quality
I'm,
members.
I'm not worried about that. The main thing is I'm just confused. I don't know what the heck happened. Reddit getting really big and passing us, that's not surprising. Test Squadron getting really big, that's fine. Maybe they'll do just as well in Star Citizen as they did in Eve and just disappear. So that's also possible.
All right, so NVIDIA shifts away from smartphones. This is posted by QWERTY Warrior. Basically, Jensen came out and said, okay, well, we're shifting away from smartphones to other more profitable markets. NVIDIA chipsets, save for Tegra 3, have had limited success in the world of smartphones. Tegra 4 barely made it into a few devices, and Tegra 4i hasn't had much luck as far as design wins go either. But NVIDIA is definitely interested in other markets, such as gaming devices, like Shield, for example, which is fantastic and doesn't get enough credit. Cars, for example, I'd love to see Tegra hardware in something like a TV a couple of generations from now when that is going to be what a console looks like. A grid streaming device that just runs in your TV and you don't need to worry about an extra box. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Excited for that kind of stuff. I mean, as internet connections get better, I mean, the connection we have here and the connection you have at home, I think, is like, you get what, like 5 millisecond pings in games? And people are like, yeah, he's like playing at Valve.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like, how do you have like LAN level ping? I'm like, oh, I'm just chilling at Valve HQ.
guys, it is coming. Low enough latency is coming. So I'm really, really excited about where we're heading there. And I really don't see this as something that'll have a major impact on NVIDIA's Tegra development cycle. It's just, I think it's just them kind of basically going, yeah, that whole thing is stupid, so we give up. And with the way margins are being squeezed on phones, the only way to make a profit on a phone is to be very vertically integrated, like someone like Apple, where you're designing your own processor and your own phone and your own software. You're profiting on people buying apps. Samsung tried to do it, and I think ultimately we're seeing the beginning of the end of the Samsung Android empire because they weren't able to turn their own app store into anything functional or useful. And beyond that, what's their value? I mean, they're already having a really hard time convincing people that a Galaxy S whatever is significantly different from a Nexus 5, which is much cheaper, and it's really just not.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
What else we got for today? We're pretty much done. We're going to finish the show early. I guess that's what happens when we start on time.
Huge amount of topics, though. I think it's just a lot of them went fast.
Yeah.
There's stuff still in the unformatted, which is really interesting.
Let's just do some straight up Q&A. Guys, hit us.
Sure.
At Linus Tech on Twitter. Hit us with some Q&A and we'll
while they're hitting us up, have you looked at the open source laptop, modular laptop
Yeah, it looks like the stupidest thing ever right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Apple devices locked and held as ransom. This is kind of brutal. So there was a thing going around a while ago where your files were getting encrypted and then you had to send a ransom and they would unencrypt it. Well, this one's so hack into the device, lock it, and then so they actually are using the Find My iPhone feature to remotely lock your device. and then they are telling you that you can't have it back. So it just will have a message on the screen, like that locked message that says if you want it back, you have to pay $100 or euros or whatever else to some Hotmail address. Absolutely brutal, guys. I guess that's all I really have to say about that. That sucks.
I think it's going to be way too trackable, though.
Yeah, I don't see this being a problem for much longer.
Payments are flowing. Like, they're going to find this guy.
Yeah. Oh, also, this is really cool. If you guys haven't seen it already, the solar roadways thing that's going on is pretty amazing. You should check out the Indiegogo project's solar roadways.
They got super duper funded.
Yeah, they got super funded, so they should. 21 days left. I love it. This video is actually... oh, I don't know if this is even the one that I...
Is this the tractor one? I think the tractor one's a different video.
Yeah, where's the, like, fan-made one?
Fan-made
Solar freaking roadways. There it is. Yeah, ignore the actual one. This one's amazing. Let me just put on some volume for you.
They're solar freaking roadways.
There you go.
What do they want from me? Well, they're solar freaking roadways. Okay, so actually this time, what is it?
Okay, so it's like 7 minutes long, but it's actually a pretty good watch. You guys should definitely check it out. But the main benefits are that you can they have LEDs built into them, so you can rearrange the markings on them however you want.
It's really cool.
They're heated, which means that clearing snow is no longer an issue, as well as the flooding that sometimes occurs when snow melts. They're solar, so you're utilizing all that area to collect solar energy, which is, of course, the cleanest energy that we can have. You don't have to disrupt, tidal pools. You don't have to disrupt rivers and waterfalls. Nope. Just sun hits the earth. We'll basically become plants. Leverage the sun. It's all very good stuff. There's a bunch of other really great stuff about it, but it's incredibly cool.
One of my favorite things is you said you can change the LEDs on it. So say if 2 people park in handicap parking stalls and then they're full, they can just create another one.
Right.
It can detect that there's actually a video of this. It can detect that they're full, and it can just grab a near parking spot and just be like, bloop, now this one is handicapped, because it can just show on the ground.
It can warn people about obstructions on the road, so they've got pressure sensors in them, so if something falls and, like, demolishes a road, it'll be like, whoa, dog, slow down, and, like, text on the road. Or if there's a deer, like, it'll feel the 4 hoof prints, and it'll be like, yo, dog, there's a deer up ahead, slow down yourself. So it's incredibly exciting.
Could probably have these communicating with those Google cars at some point in time, so it can automatically figure all this stuff out and go around things.
Would love for this to be the future.
Really super easy, really low cost power charging stations for electric cars.
Love it.
There's a bunch of stuff. You had a Twitter blitz that happened.
Yeah, but there's one more thing I wanted to hit before the Twitter blitz. So, Tech Report. Seagate buys SandForce from LSI for $450 million. So this has been complicated. So LSI bought SandForce, and then, like, what was it? Avago or whatever bought LSI, and then now Avago is, well, by proxy, I guess, selling SandForce from LSI to Seagate. This is an interesting move to me.
Yeah.
Where it feels like... Because SandForce, it's kind of like Indelinks, okay? SSD controller makers come and go.
Yeah.
And popularity rises and falls. Indelinks went from being a hot item with the Barefoot controller to being acquired by OCZ to releasing Barefoot 2, which I think OCZ was hoping, well, not I think, OCZ was hoping to leverage by selling the controllers and the technology to other SSD makers, but then their new controller wasn't good enough and they just completely fell off the face of the earth. Or not, I shouldn't say not good enough. The latest Indilink stuff, and not necessarily the controller hardware, but the software, the technology, is not actually terrible. It just isn't groundbreaking enough in a market that is full of a bunch of stuff that performs pretty much the same. So I'm looking at this going, just because SandForce is a big deal yesterday and a big deal today doesn't mean that it matters at all tomorrow. And SF3700 series has been delayed multiple times now. I mean, we were first shown it, like, what, Computex last year?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And it doesn't exist yet. I just wonder if SandForce is being shuffled around because they just got nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of surprised Seagate bought them.
Yeah. Well,
it's just kind of weird.
Well, Seagate's gotten into SSDs. I mean, they've got their own branded SSDs now.
Yeah, but are they really pushing them? Maybe this is their whole goal. Is now they'll maybe push them really hard.
The thing about an SSD is the controller actually isn't a huge part of the BOM cost or really a huge selling point to me at this point.
One
I mean,
of the reasons
Samsung.
why I don't understand why they bought it.
Samsung went hero mode when they went, okay, like, because Flash isn't a big differentiating factor, because there's only a few makers of Flash, and no one else is going to get into that business without a massive investment that makes no sense.
Yeah.
So Flash doesn't differentiate. Controllers don't make much of a difference these days. It's coming down to features like hardware encryption
And all that stuff that's on Evo.
data loss protection, and it's coming down to software stuff, like what Samsung did with Evo, where they basically went, yeah, we know our SSD is a commodity, so we're going to build this cool software that lets you use your RAM to cache it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have this like great cloning software that allows you to clone onto a smaller drive, because that's what a lot of people will be doing, and then have it overflow elsewhere. So I don't really see the point of spending $450 million when they could have spent $450 million trying to come up with some ideas for how to deliver value adds on the SSD that they already have. Unless they, whatever. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I didn't understand something and it turns out to be a great idea.
Yeah, I don't really get this one. Unless there's something new in the pipeline or unless they're planning something weird, I'm not really sure.
So there you go. All right, Twitter Blitz time.
If it decides to allow us.
Yeah, if it ever
There we
actually
go.
loads. There we go. All right, having a garage sale today. I'm hungry. I have food. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? I think I have a 780, so stay tuned for that.
What? Why are you selling 780? What one?
What? Hold on.
What 780?
Just calm down. Direct CU2?
Okay, that's fine.
Why? What 780 are you upset about?
I just want to make sure you're not taking like one of my benching ones.
Oh, no.
Or just one of the reference ones in general.
Okay, why are you all green?
We
I
are
don't
a little
know
green,
what that
aren't we?
means. Oh, like...
Hue.
Oh, I don't know.
The window? The
Could be
window's
the window.
open.
And the sunlight is bright and there's grass outside.
Yeah.
That's the best guess I have.
Yeah.
4.1 gigahertz, new Haswell. Okay. You know what's funny? Is we actually made it all the way through the show without talking about Titan Z being available now.
But like...
And without talking about any of the new Haswell stuff, which is kind of funny. Titan Z is, in my mind, the least relevant thing to the viewers of our show ever. Unless you're a CUDA developer, it's totally irrelevant.
We don't recommend it unless you're a CUDA developer.
Titan Z just straight up makes no sense for gamers.
That's why it's not on the dock.
Yeah. Ouch. Do you have a tutorial on how to build a PC for first-timers? Yes.
Many.
In fact, we have the hands-down best tutorials on YouTube for how to build a PC.
And more than one, too. So if you're like, oh, this part maybe wasn't super clear, you can just watch another one. And we have nice little timestamps for each individual part, and you can jump around in the video and find exactly what you're having trouble installing.
Oops.
I've actually heard, I have a buddy that installed...
Oh, I clicked new ATV, gross.
Not that one, that's not a good one.
Oh, go away, go back.
Eli, the computer guy, even.
Okay.
I don't even know what you're doing.
Okay, if you search for... Seriously? There. This one's really good. The 1500 gaming one is... Really? PC build guide. Why don't we go with that? Yeah, it's all in how you optimize your keywords, because now it's like all us. So this one's really good. The one with 1 million views.
Which is,
video
for some
editing
reason...
workstation one's pretty good. This one's really good if you're doing like a basic machine, the Kaveri build guide. We have a water-cooled one. Here's if you're building a small form factor, so we cover a lot of tricks there. We've also got another AMD value one. That's mostly if you're building something a little bit lower end. And then Overkill. If you're doing liquid cooling, you're going to want this one. So I hope that addresses that.
Next and I guess we're going to be having a mineral oil one coming?
Maybe.
If we
depends
get that
if
sample?
Yeah, it depends. Are you excited for this year's E3? I'm excited that I don't have to go.
I'm hoping I get to check out Ubisoft because I want to look into like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry 4 and whatever else they might be working on, like what's it called? Not Driver, The Crew. I'm excited for 2K because I want to see that new Civilization game, which looks amazing. I think it's called Beyond Earth. I'm excited to check out Nintendo because they're doing that crazy like, what is it? The new Zelda franchise game.
Oh,
I can't remember what it's called. It's like Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Basketball.
No.
Are they gonna whore out Link the same way they have Mario?
No. It's called Hyrule Warriors or something. It looks really cool. But no, not basketball or golf or anything like that.
Yeah, I got the eBay email as well. Idea for t-shirt with the word wanger? No, I don't think we need a t-shirt with the word wanger. What are your opinions on GameCube? That's actually really cool. Did you hear?
Probably should have made it into the
Yeah,
doc.
you can play
Forgot about
the upcoming Super Smash Brothers with your GameCube controller using an adapter for the Wii U. That is like really cool, actually.
Yeah, and like everyone is in love with that.
Have you played Watch Dogs? I have not played it. I do have a copy.
I don't know if I would classify what I did as playing it.
You benchmarked it.
Yeah, but I didn't really get to experience the game.
Hello, what is the highest end GPU I can run before bottle? Okay, go watch my fastest possible on bottlenecking because it doesn't really work that way. Sup, watching the stream from my MacBook.
Bro.
Do you see game consoles ever equaling PCs for price to performance? Yeah, they're pretty much there right now. PS4 is very competitive price to performance wise with a low end PC.
Xbox One, maybe not so much.
Yeah, maybe not
But a
quite as much.
PS4, yeah.
Computex Maxwell releases. I don't know.
I have to leave, but I'm waiting for one question that I have to answer.
What would you recommend? SLI? Nope, single 780.
Single 780.
Are you getting the Razer Blade 14 soon? Yes. They've finally confirmed we are getting one soon. What drink do you get at Tim Hortons?
Chocolate milk.
Really? You go to
Every time.
You go to Tim Hortons to get chocolate milk?
I don't drink coffee.
Right, but
No, if like
Why
if,
would you go to
if,
Tim
every-
Hortons?
if everyone's going to Tim Hortons,
oh,
and then I'm like, I want to get like a meal or whatever, I
okay.
get chocolate milk with it because there's like nothing else there, and I don't want to get pop.
I like the lemon iced tea.
I didn't even know they had that, but yeah, no, I'd probably still get chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is pretty much the best thing that ever happened to humanity. Let's not debate that because that loses immediately.
Opinion
Anyways,
on
I gotta
iOS
go.
8 being confirmed? I think that it's not very unexpected. So-
It's another mobile operating system.
Yay! It's gonna be like the other one, except slightly more different.
You probably could have confirmed iOS 8 on like iOS 4.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like it's gonna come at some point. Bye everyone.
Any idea how Valve will address the issue of Windows games not working on Linux? Well, there's not a whole lot they can do. It's up to the individual developers whether or not they make the game work on
There's
Linux.
technically stuff they could do.
Is home streaming the only option? Home streaming is a fantastic option.
Yeah,
If that's the only option, who cares? That's a great option.
There's services like Wine and stuff. Which
You
can
have to go. Get out of here.
Which can make Windows games work on Linux.
I'm tired of
And
you.
Valve could technically build something better if they wanted to.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, what do you think about the Titan Z? I think I already answered that one. Since we can join multiple groups now, people are just joining whatever and getting email invites for Explore. That's interesting. I guess that's what's going on over there. I got 99 problems, but a G750JZ ain't one. Dimitru asks, why no 1080p for the WAN Show archive? Great question. We switched from streaming at 1080 to 720 back when we were having bandwidth cap issues with our ISP. There is actually technically no reason why we couldn't stream at 1080 now, and then the archive would be at 1080. Alright, so I think let's call that pretty much it for the WAN Show today. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I thought this was a pretty good show. I hope you guys agreed. Thanks again to our sponsors, ASUS, powered by the G750JZ. All two of them. Wow, there it is. There's the other one with that matte black and that shiny logo and all that good stuff. And I'm going to tease it again. We do have another really exciting project planned with ASUS in the next little while. It's funny because we didn't do anything with ASUS for the first entire year that Linus Media Group existed. And now we've got they're sponsoring the WAN Show, and we got this really cool upcoming project. You guys are going to be pretty stoked on it, trust me. And big thanks to Modus for also sponsoring the WAN Show today. Don't miss Geeksteaks. Facebook.com/Modus for Canadian and US residents. Go head over there. Make sure you're in the draws. They do a new draw for a new sweet Geek Prize every day to celebrate Geek Pride Day. Peace out, guys. I'll be back in a moment. Seriously? Okay, well, whatever. Sponsor one. Also sponsor one. No, not you. Why are you there? I don't even know what these things are.